Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's great to have you back online for this afternoon session of day one of the EdTech Festival. Thank you for joining us for this session. Great apps in Windows 10, and it's going to be led by Kevin Sate. Kevin is a Surface evangelist for Microsoft. First met Kev quite some years ago now, I think, at BET, presenting about the work he was doing in a high school and about the deployment of devices and just the way in which technology was revolutionizing what was going on. He's very well placed with a wealth of experience to talk about this topic. And so it's great to be able to welcome him to this session. So Kev, thank you for joining us, and over to you.
Fab. Matt, great to be here. What we're going to do is we're going to experience what I would call the apps that make me productive. Now, there's no definitive list in this. So these are things that I pull out of my daily job that help make me productive. And of course, where you want to start with is really want to start with the operating system Windows 10 in that respect. So when I'm in the classroom kind of space, down here on the task view on Windows 10 here, is this ability to be able to manage your virtual desktops. So great way of being able to kind of preset work, be able to switch in between desktops, and certainly when we have a kind of teaching day that represents something like normality, a great way where you can easily pre-prepare different lessons. So for example, if I go back, I could add another desktop and another desktop and another desktop, and actually set this up at the beginning of the day with my lesson 2, my lesson 3, my lesson 4, my lesson 5. And simply when the bell goes, all I need to do is simply switch between desktops and run the applications that are there. So you've got that in the Windows 10 taskbar. And of course, the other thing that you will find, of course, in the Windows 10 taskbar is timeline. So as you can see here, what we've got there is we've got a history of what we've been using over the last 30 odd days. So great tip there really is to make sure that you're using the Windows 10 task view here to its best ability. Now, as we go through these kind of little tips and application hints here, one thing to bear in mind is we're not using an app. We're doing everything on the web. So we're doing everything in Office Online. And that's where I kind of launch, my world from on a daily basis. But one of the great things that we did add into Windows, which initially was web-based, is the ability to use Microsoft's Whiteboard. And again, for people thinking about maybe a cloud-connected classroom, changing the way that you deliver things, using devices like Surface with the digital inking and touchscreen, Whiteboard is a really, really, really good tool to be kind of familiar with. And you can see some of our training courses available at the Microsoft Educator community as well. But for those of you who haven't used Whiteboard, if you use the Windows key and W, you'll get the short menu down here, the Windows inking menu. And if you launch Whiteboard, Whiteboard is your truly digital whiteboard environment, as you can see here. So we have a kind of pretty much a never-ending canvas. So with my digital pen, I've got the ability to obviously ink. I've got the ability to create, using digital tools, as you can see here there. I've got the ability to use, obviously, maybe a sparkly pen, which always goes down well. But you've got other things that you can really kind of make use in Whiteboard. First of all, up here at the top here would be the ability that we could share what we are doing with students in the class, or if I am using it as a mind mapping kind of exercise that I could share with other colleagues. So if I wanted to, I could pick out a user. I can invite that user to the to the board, and that user would now have an invite, very much in the same way that we would share out a Microsoft Word document or a Microsoft PowerPoint document. So as this session is completely live all the way through, I've got another device which is sitting by my right hand side here, sorry. And what I've now done is I've now got an invitation to collaborate on this board. So instead of thinking about, you know, is my technology in the classroom, is it smart, is it Promethean and things like that, you may wish to think about, you know, generating this kind of whiteboard experience where Microsoft Whiteboard really becomes that neutral kind of platform which you can use, people can bring resources into, and of course you can share really well with other classmates and things like that. So we can start writing with the wrong hand, but you can see here that the other user is now obviously collaborating on that same board. If we just drop that down a fraction and went to the ability to add a picture, so I'm going to go to, for example, a Bing image, and in this case I'm going to look for a floor plan. So using my digital pen, let's have a look what we can find. So if we take this as an image and add it, let's go, just try it one more time. There, right. Let's go. I think my typing might work better than my handwriting this afternoon. Let's try that. If we take this as an image, okay, and drop it onto the canvas, you've also got some great AI tools that are kind of based in this. So at the moment, of course, this is just a static image. Okay. So as you can see here on the menu at the top, I've got this magic wand. Okay, and what that will now do is that will now convert that static image into a line drawing. So what I should be able to do is take my pen. We should be able to lasso maybe an area of that drawing and actually edit that drawing. So we can maybe discuss about how that chapel window or area would look good there. And of course, we can then maybe add some collaborative sticky notes in there as well. So Microsoft Whiteboard really is a fully functional, fully featured whiteboarding device, and I would thoroughly recommend it as a productivity tool for teachers with other teachers, but of course teachers to students. So let's just drop out of that. Let's go back to our browser now. And what we're now going to look at is the fact that we've got the new Microsoft Edge browser. Now, of course, I think there was some statistics some way back that said the first thing people do when they get Windows 10 is go and install Google Chrome. And of course, Google Chrome and the old Microsoft Edge were different products. But what you now have is the Microsoft Edge browser in Windows 10 built on Chromium, which is the same as Google Chrome effectively. So it was quite a shock decision when Microsoft announced this, but basically the browser that comes in Edge now has the same, well, it has faster download capabilities and things like that, but is a Microsoft Edge browser which you can run in your secure environment. So if you're using Microsoft Intune to deploy and things like that, what you're doing is you're actually using your Office 365 account to manage that identity. So it can synchronize things across browsers, of course, and things like that. But really what I wanted to show you is a great productivity tool that I use when I am using websites, because obviously I use websites a lot more than I ever used to. But if we, for example, go to any website, and I'm going to just take the BBC webpage as an example here. Okay, I can literally create any website that we have into an app in 2 clicks. So if we take the URL bbc.co.uk, I go to the ellipses menu here on the right hand side and come down to the one that says apps and install this site as an app. I'm going to call it BBC Home. And what we should see now is we actually now have a BBC app built from my web page. So it behaves like an app, it runs like an app. There's no search button, there's no URL bits up the top here. If I click on my start menu, you will also find that we have the BBC Home icon now. It's a button there. Okay, so very easily you can create apps of your favorite learning websites, testing websites, whatever, and create them as an app on your device. So you don't have to keep going into the browser, and you don't have to keep going into signing in and things like that. So installing a website as an app in the new Chromium Edge browser is another great productivity tip. Okay, you'll also see if we go to apps which are maybe more, he says if we can spell the word Twitter, there we go. Oh, my bad. No, it's probably wrong example when I'm in a school. If you went to an app like Twitter, for example, it would automatically give you the option to install that app as a that website as an app as well. So Chromium Edge, thoroughly recommend it. Say free to download through microsoft.com/edge in that respect, and it will update your existing Edge into the new icon, and you'll have all of this functionality. I suppose the last thing I just want to show you before we kind of look in at some of those M365 apps are the fact that you also have collections as well, which can synchronize across browsers. So this is a great place, a bit like enhanced favorites, a great place for you to bookmark websites and things like that, and you can share with colleagues as well. So anyway, let's get into Microsoft Office 365. Where can we be productive here? Well, let's start with OneDrive at the beginning of it. So if I click on OneDrive, and again, remember everything I'm doing is all web-based in that respect. And somewhere here in OneDrive, I've created a folder called Files. Obviously, OneDrive is my 1 terabytes worth of storage, which I can use. But I've simply created a folder called Files. If I click on that folder, when you look at the top link up here, along with the typical ways of sharing and things like that, we also have an option called Request Files. So this is really a great tool to be productive if you're looking at that remote learning environment and you've got students maybe at home who just need to upload you something. Nice and easy. If we click on there, we choose Request Files. We can call the folder a meaningful name for the student. Choose Next, and I can invite my student. So if I have got my school data sync up and running, I could type my class name in here. If I'm setting different students' tasks, I can type their names in here as well. So for example, if I find my test student here, I would choose that, I would choose Send, and it will send a file request invitation to the student. So if I turn around to my other machine here, and I now see that invite, what I've got is the ability to click on the link here and simply upload a file. So I can browse any file off the machine and upload it into the Request Files folder. So if I tap on Files in here, what we should see is a spreadsheet which we uploaded. This was one from earlier on, but I will now see as the teacher all of those files. So that could be homework that's being handed in, a task or something like that. When the student uploads the files, they don't see anybody else's file or work in that folder. They just simply upload it to it. So a great way that you can really just get that seamless way of communicating and retrieving work from students who are out there in this kind of remote learning environment that we sit in now. And of course, obviously next term in whichever way, shape or form that comes to us as well. So certainly do make yourself aware of that. It's well worth a try. Create yourself a new folder, click on it, request files, send it to someone, see it in action in that respect. So of course, if we go back to the start menu there, in our Office web page here, Office web page now for me gives me absolutely everything I need on a day-to-day basis. So my daily driver that I use as a machine is a Surface Go 2. And because I'm connected all the time wherever I go, I have the LTE version. I actually don't have Microsoft Office installed on my machine anymore. I use the web apps and the web interface, which is available here. And one of the reasons why I do that is it means it really does connect me from a productivity standpoint with people in my organization. So for example, in the section down here, if I choose share with me, you can see here we've got a file open called Churchill, which I've shared with my colleague, or I'm collaborating with my colleague Jason Brown here. So simply by hovering over Jason's details, I can see his contact details, I can see his LinkedIn profile, for example, I can see things that I've sent him, I can see other documents that I have been working with Jason on as well. I could message him straight from the screen here. I could start a chat with Jason. And again, Jason could be in school, out of school, remote working from home or wherever. But the Office webpage that you start with by going to office.com is a great standpoint for just grabbing your day-to-day information, letting you know where you are and getting on with using those documents. So of course, if we then move up to the Churchill document, this will be something that everybody's seen before, but I really think after the amount of time I've spent in the kind of EdTech world, this still blows my socks off in the way of that immersive reader, you know, a tool that everybody should really be aware of top down in an organization, because it just benefits everybody. And you would have all seen this before. So if you haven't, it's available in Word, it's available in OneNote and Microsoft Teams and Forms and things like that. And we literally incorporate this in across our product stack. Okay, so as we see here, what we can do is we can make that that reading view really immersive, depending on how I want that to be shown. So if we just bring that down to kind of normal text, we can see here we've got the ability to overlay themes on it. We've got some dyslexia-based fonts which make the reading of the page easier for people. We can increase the character spacing. And then we also have the kind of grammar options, so we can break words down, we can pick out nouns, verbs, adjectives, and things like that. So, you know, if you haven't used it, I'm sure most of you have seen this, but please bear in mind that it is based across pretty much all of our M365 product stack now. Okay, so if you're doing a quiz in Microsoft Forms or something like that, please make your students aware that we have got that ability built into it, and it's a tool that everybody really you know, can use if they need to in that respect. So immersive reader, obviously really good. Obviously also in things like Word Online, we've got things that make me more productive. Is actually I start to dictate more to my when I'm creating documents rather than typing, because I find I can speak and dictate faster than I can type as well. So another great tool to be productive within Word. If we move along now to PowerPoint, PowerPoint Online is absolutely fabulous. So PowerPoint Online itself means that, again, I got the great tools that I am used to using in the desktop application, but I can use them wherever I am. So if I create a new blank presentation, okay, up pops a new screen. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a presentation on the Tesla 3 car. So we're just going to add a few details in there. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to Insert. I'm going to go to Pictures, and I'm going to go to the Bing Pictures, and I'm just going to do a search for Elon Musk. So we find a picture of Elon Musk, which looks good. So I think I'm probably going to go for this one here and insert that into the document. Now, the first thing that you should see over here on the right hand side is what we call the AI designer. So the AI designer is now kicked in, and it's now basically working through the picture, the color in the picture and the facial recognition to create me a design background. So that's really cool. So we could take a picture, we could set one of those up, but I'm just going to see if we can just simply add a picture of one of the cars. So we said it's going to be a Tesla 3. And we're going to add that in there, and we're going to pick a car and we're going to add that in there. So as the background changes, as we've added another piece of another picture into our deck, the designer in the background has now totally changed and given me a new fresh look to look at. So I'm going to click this one here, and what you'll see is we've now got the first stage of my rather slick looking Tesla 3 presentation, which is really nice to do. So a great tool there in the way of simply being able to use the AI behind the scenes to create a higher kind of level of document. So certainly back in the classroom time, back at the Wyndham High School, where I used to be, you know, when you're doing this kind of work with students and they spend more of the time kind of thinking about the backgrounds and the colors and things like that, actually it's about the data, it's about the information and how you're going to present it. So these really are tools that allow students to be fully fledged kind of users of the product. And obviously as a school, if you kind of map these skills into things like Microsoft's Imagine Academy, then you've got a great journey where students can be really productive with these kind of tools to start with. And as they move through there, at the end of it, they can actually come out with a certification in that product, you know. And if they go out and get a job in life, they may well have a, you know, if a boss comes along and says, you know, build me a presentation about this, could be something like this, could be something using 3D models, and so on and so on. So AI Designer in PowerPoint, really nice, really cool. If we go to the slideshow menu, I'm sure many of you would have seen the ability to use subtitles. So that real live captioning based around what I'm talking about as the presenter, really nice to do. And of course, another one of great use is the rehearse with coach. So if I'm making a presentation, I would always rehearse with coach, let the AI behind the scenes pick up on the how many times I use different words, how many times I might and things like that, so I know where to look at and things like that and work out a better way of delivering it. But of course, the latest thing that's happened in PowerPoint Online is what we call PowerPoint or PowerPoint Live. So new in the web-based version of PowerPoint is the ability to use the present live option. So I can present to anyone who has a link to join my my presentation, or I can keep it into my my deck as well. Sorry, my organization. If I choose anyone and choose present live, what I'm going to see is I'm first of all going to see the live session setup. So if you are using a mobile phone, okay, a smartphone, what you'll be able to see is you'll be able to see when we ran through this, we'd be able to see a URL to join at the top. Okay, so there we are, ppt.ms, and you'll see a QR code. If you have a QR code reader on your device, you'll be able to point it at the screen and connect to my PowerPoint Live presentation. What I'm going to see as the presenter is I'm going to see the number of people who joined my presentation. And as they join the presentation, they can interact with things that I'm talking about and topics and things like that. And they can also give me feedback at the end of the presentation as well. So PowerPoint Live is a great tool, new to the PowerPoint Online, and it allows you really to interact with the feedback. It allows you to get live captioning. You can also go through the deck before or as the presenter goes. So if I went to the third page, you could go, I might just want to skip back and go to page 2, and I can keep talking. So you've got that ability to integrate and move freely in between the deck as well. So great to see 2 people have joined me. Thank you very much indeed. But we'll now loop back and get back to the main part of the session today. So PowerPoint Online, yeah, great tool. Really have an explore, and again, just really think about where you might want to be using that online experience rather than the full desktop version. Okay, as I say, great. Everything's there, everything's saved, everything's in OneDrive, but you've got these great tools, and you'll always see the kind of web-based functionality come out first before it hits your desktop version in that respect. So that's PowerPoint. We've looked at Word, we've looked at OneDrive as well in that respect, and now what I want to do is look at other tools that sit within Office 365. So of course we have the great tools like Sway and Forms, very closely linked together, and with those, with Word, with Excel, with PowerPoint, you get that great kind of office-based platform. But what you also have with Office 365 is something that we call the Power Platform, and Power Platform is built up of four applications. So it's built up of Power Apps, Power Automate, Power BI, and Power Virtual Agents. And what we're going to do today is just going to have a look at one of those which form part of the Power Platform, which is Power Automate. And Power Automate really is a thing where you can begin to you can begin to automate a lot of workflows in your day-to-day work to, again, make me more productive. For schools that I support up here, it makes teachers more productive as well. So if we go to the Power Automate window up here, what you'll see is the Power Automate start screen effectively. So what we can do is we can create various structures. So if I look down the list here, you'll see that we have a list of services that the Power Automate service can connect to. Now, one thing I would say and like to stress from the first step with this is it's not just about Microsoft. Okay, you can see here you can have a Power Automate that does things with Dropbox, Power Automate which does things with Google Calendar and things like that. So if you have Power Automate on your mobile device, I'm going to simply show you how to create a great little Power Automate flow on there, which will allow you to block out if you're ever like me and you're using your Office 365 calendar and something comes up and you want to block a bit of time out, we can do this really seamlessly. Okay, so in Power Automate, and you can do this on your smartphone if you've got the Power app installed on there. What we would do is we would go to the one that says templates here. Okay, now templates are literally preset workflow flows which are there for you to make use of. So you can see I've got all flows. I've got flows which are where documents are shared with me, approval flows. So for example, you may well have something that goes around your school which has to be approved by various people. Let's automate it. Let's, soon as that spreadsheet turns up and XYZ adds a column to it, it will then move that on to the next person in the list. But I'm going to do a really simple one for you just so you can see the process. So if we go to the one here that says button, okay, and obviously if you're doing this on a desktop PC and then you sign into Power Automate on your phone, you'll see the result of this. So here are some button automates here, and as you can see here, I've got one here that says to block out my Office 365 calendar for an hour. So if I click on that, it will load that that flow for me. Okay, and as you can see here, it's looking for the flow button on mobile, and the result is going to be the end of that workflow is going to be the Office 365 Outlook calendar. So if I choose continue, okay, what it will do is it will set out that logical flow for me, and there are only 2 steps to this. So we will manually trigger the flow by pressing the button on my app on the phone, and that will trigger an event that will block out my calendar. Okay, so I will choose my calendar and it will block it out for an hour. Okay, and that's all I would need to do. So I would save that. I would go to my my phone and just launch Power Automate. Okay, and what we'll see there is we'll see that I have got several buttons on my phone, and the one there in the bottom corner is the one that says block out my Office 365 calendar for an hour. So if I'm at lunch or something like that, I can just simply tap the button, and all of my colleagues that I work with will know that I am out of contact for a while. So Power Automate will work with that as a standalone kind of thing. If we look back at the templates, you'll see you'll be able to interact with pretty much every service that is out there. So if we look at, for example, another popular one I do is to get like notifications when somebody updates a blog post, for example, or am I doing something where form processing into SharePoint? There are many things that you can look at, and I would strongly say that the Power Platform itself is really going to be a key part of school process automation, going forward. So it really is worthwhile taking a look at what this will do. If you intermingle that with Power Apps, so if we go down the list here and go to Power Apps itself will allow you to it will allow you to build an application. So if you think of the term of community development, okay, you don't necessarily as a school maybe have to go and create get someone in to build you an app. You can actually build this yourself. So you can create a fully functional mobile app for Android, for Apple, for Windows, simply by connecting or creating an app, connecting it to a data source. So that could be SharePoint, that could be Excel, that could be SQL Server, it could be your school MIS, for example, and actually build yourself an app. And then you can integrate Power Automate, as we've seen there, into that workflow process. So on my app, when I press a button, trigger this, if you see what I mean. So these are great tools that you can bring to this life. And we see a lot of schools who are making great use of this. There are also curriculums out there for being able to teach students these modern skills. So Power Apps for Kids is a great website to go and have a look at as well. So that's a little kind of drop in, shall we say, to the Power Platform itself in that respect. And then the last thing I would say from a productivity perspective is, and I'm sure you all know it, there are two websites, the education.microsoft.com for the Microsoft CPD opportunities for using this. Okay, so a great, I don't live in the classroom day to day, being that I'm a Surface evangelist for Microsoft, but I still frequently, to get more productive and find more tips, come back to the educator community to find out more. And then the last one I would say I recommend people to have a look at is opportunity.linkedin.com. Okay, now opportunity.linkedin.com is really Microsoft's opportunity for people to get that high level skills for jobs kind of scenario. So if you can see here, this page, it's linked up with LinkedIn Learning, Microsoft Learn, and the GitHub repositories. And you can point people, you can help people in the way of looking at those kind of jobs for the future and what they need. So this is all normally paid for learning through LinkedIn Learning. So for example, if you've got students that are looking at software development, for example, or you want to upskill existing IT staff and stuff like that, this is stuff that would normally cost and is absolutely free until March 2021. So opportunity.linkedin.com is a great place to also have a look and see where you can upskill, certify, and get more productive with the software that you're already using. So at that point, I've really come to the kind of end of the tools that make me more productive. In that respect, Matt, can I hand back to you and see if we have any questions that I can answer?
Brilliant, thank you, Kev. That was really a really great session there, and there's you know, so many things that I'm going to take away from that. Just one question from the Q&A, particularly around Edge. So obviously now you talked about it being built on Chromium. There's a question about whether the features that you were talking about are like some sort of premium feature, or are we saying that they are baked into the full good old-fashioned, or new, not old-fashioned one, but the new Edge?
Sure. So yeah, everything I showed you there is part of the release version of Edge. You know, I really come from an IT pro background. The ability to create websites as apps, it's called what we call a progressive web application, is going to be the future of application development for sure. But in the meantime, what you can do is if you take your you know, any website that you want to make an app, you can just do it that way in Edge. But everything there is it's fully available in the release candidate, or the release version, the current version, the stable version, whatever you want to call it. If you go and you want to see the newer things, you can go to the Microsoft Edge website and also download the what we call the dev channel. So you'll see the latest things. That's almost like a daily, a daily update to Edge. So that's for developers. And we also have a 2-weekly beta channel again. So you'll see that. So we have those 3 channels. So dev is the kind of the look ahead. Beta is what we're testing, and the stable, which is something you can go to today and go to microsoft.com/edge and download, is fully functional. And obviously you can get your Edge browser on Android, you can get it on iOS, and really what it means is obviously if you've got that kind of cloud environment where you're managing your web experience for your end users, you're doing it all through the Office 365 identity. You're not managing a Google identity, you're keeping all of that data within those kind of within that UK data center kind of realm, and obviously policies that you want to apply to Edge can be done through products like Intune straight out the box.
Great, thank you, Kev. And so in terms of just rewinding all the way back to the start, and the way in which you could customize your desktop and your workflow very early on, just a question: does that persist beyond a computer restart, or would that be wiped?
Yeah, so the 1909 version, so of Windows 10 is a version that you can enable that desktop persistence, shall we say. So yeah, out of the box, it never has done, but there is a way with 1909 that you can get that to maintain that state through a restart.
Great, thank you. Just to pick up in the Q&A, just someone's asking, will the session be recorded? They'd love to come back to it again later. Absolutely, and you will receive an email at some point with a link. We'll be posting all of these sessions. And just very quickly, sort of a very final quick one, Kev, before we all have to move on to our next session.
Sure.
Is the Microsoft Whiteboard app only available with Windows 10, or would it be in like the iOS App Store or anything like that?
Yeah, for sure. So the Whiteboard app is available cross-platform, so it's built into Windows 10, obviously, and you can easily access that by going the Windows key and W to get that Whiteboard app. You can actually have it. You can ask your Office 365 tenant administrator to pin it to the waffle menu in the top left-hand corner, so everybody in your organization gets it anyway. But it is available on iOS, it's available on Android, and it's also available just simply as a web app as well.
Brilliant, that's great. Well, thank you, Kev. And that was a really practical session. I know I'm definitely going to take stuff away from that. So thank you for your time. We really appreciate your involvement in the event today. And yeah, I would just, if you have any more questions, I would just encourage you perhaps to contact Kev on Twitter, maybe. Kev,
Yep.
what's just a reminder of your Twitter handle?
I have many. No, I don't. The best place to get me on is Kevin_Sait, SAIT.
Brilliant. Thanks, Kev. Well, in that case, okay. We'll say goodbye and hopefully enjoy the rest of the day.
Great.
And everybody else, hopefully it's a good rest of the day for you as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you, everybody. Great to be a part of. Thank you.
Bye.